All right, Learfield, our friends at Learfield host the AmeriQ Adrian Autry show every Thursday night, Steve. Matt Park hosts it. And last night, I think for the first time ever, I got a call. They got a call on a coach's show where I was just stunned by it. Like, it wasn't calling in to ask Coach a question. It was calling in to kind of just be like, I'm smarter than you, Coach, and these are the mistakes you made last night that cost Syracuse the game. His name is Tusi.
Is Tusi the one who asked you if you were FaceTiming your dog?
No, that's a different. That's a different story. So Tusi called in and claimed that Coach Autry made 3 mistakes during that game that cost Syracuse the BC game. Here is Tusi's first call mistake.
Hello there.
Hello.
I want to talk about the BC game. I thought you made 2 or 3 bad decisions during the game that gave BC life. You were up like 28-23. Judah got his second foul. And on the TV, I could see Judah signaling to you, like, leave me in. That's all right. Don't worry about it. But you still took him out. And then you brought in people with no true point guard. JJ, to me, is not a true point guard. And you left Copeland on the bench, and Malik was still on the bench. So then the lead went from like 28-23, 31-30, then ending the half 37-30.
Okay, so he took Judah out with 2 fouls, and he said on our show multiple times yesterday he did it because Judah was overly amped up, and he didn't want him to pick up the 3rd foul because he knows his players. If he had done, like, what do you think of that first call?
Yeah, I think the coach knows best, and I think the coach knows his players best, and that's exactly what Autry said on the show.
Also, I will say there are others in the chat. Dilemma Cuse agrees that was a bad lineup that was in. So
okay, but had Judah picked up his 3rd foul, Tusi would have called it and said, "Coach, you made 2 mistakes in that game. Right. Your point guard had to sit longer now because he had 3 fouls."
Yeah, I mean there are some guys, and we know that Judah is a very emotional player. When you pick up a foul like that, or pick up a technical, so sometimes you need to get the guy off the floor.
Or if they had both picked him up.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to be the voice of Tusi in this segment. He says, "No, I wouldn't." I'm going to give Tusi a voice on the air.
But then you're stuck with your best player off the floor. Well, like, what if they both picked him? He put Malik back in. I don't know.
The other thing is, again, I said this yesterday. I'll say it again. I think 95% of coaches would do the same thing. They're up at that point. It's not like there's 10 minutes to go in the game and you're down by 8 and you need to make a run. It's the first half. You're up by 5 or 7, and they were up. It was 30-23, right? He said 28-23. Syracuse scored the next basket, went up 30-23. And then, obviously, BC went on that huge run. And then he did bring back, Malik before halftime. And by then, the momentum had shifted. But I think 95% of coaches in that situation, knowing that you're up, knowing that your 2 best players have 2 fouls, you're going to try to get to halftime.
Which the Q Sports Talk chat thinks that's the whole thing. No.
So, wait. Now we get to mistake number 2, Steve. And if I recall, Syracuse got up to its big lead with the starting lineup in, right? If I was correct.
Then second half, you went back to the starting lineup, went down 14. Your better point guard is Copeland. To me, he's awesome. I work here down at Georgetown. I talked with a student. The student said he was high school with him. He goes, he was unbelievable there. He brought our high school team to the state championship single-handedly. So it went up to 44-30. Then you finally brought him in. I don't know what you said, but he did unbelievable. The team was unstoppable, dominating.
Okay, so
I cut out a portion. There was like 30 more seconds on Quadir Copeland's high school career.
So apparently a kid at Georgetown knows more about Quadir Copeland's playing abilities than the guy who recruited him. But
Copeland is a beast.
Yeah, but he's also been really bad in games. Right?
He's been up or down. Yes.
You don't know what you're going to get.
He always gives you energy.
Yeah. But
he did do everything against BC.
Okay, so
he played well against BC.
Here's where I'm confused by this. Syracuse got up in the first half with the starting lineup. And then when the starting lineup went out, because coach took the players out, they lost the lead. But now he's in trouble for using the starting lineup again.
I mean, Chris Bell after halftime barely played.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Justin Taylor didn't play much.
I mean, there's three guys that you do want on the floor as much as you can, and that's JJ, Judah, and Malik. And unfortunately, two of those three had some foul issues in the first half. And again, to Autry's point, he wanted to get to halftime. He had the lead, trying to get to halftime so that you could kind of reset. And it didn't quite work out like that. The tide turned, and they went on that huge run. And by the time you got to halftime, you dug yourself a little bit of a hole.
Coach even said, like, the guy who is the coach of the team said, like, it takes, he's not hiding from why they lost the game. It was because his players didn't play defense and execute the game plan properly.
Right.
And it was on him. That's on him, that he didn't have his players in the right spot to defend Harris down the stretch. Harris killed them down the stretch. That's why they lost.
Right.
Is because they couldn't contain Harris. All right,
this is such a divisive segment. Like, the chat is, like, actually somewhat split, and I love it.
You ready for mistake number 3?
So then it was 53-55, you were down 2. Then it was 59-62, you're down 3. So at that point, BC came down, hit a 3 with Harris, and there was like 5 minutes left when that happened. It went up to 65-59. When they hit that 3, you should have immediately called a timeout and brought the team together and went back to.
He watched the game with a notepad. He's armed
because he managed the game. He managed the team. He's the better point guard.
Okay.
All right, we got it, Susie.
Okay. Thank you for that. Right.
Wow.
The audacity.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's an appropriate name to the segment.
You know what would be crazy if I found out? Like, I'd have to go back and look, but was Quadir Copeland guarding Harris? Wouldn't that be crazy?
I mean, we would have to go back and look. I mean,
yeah,
I
mean, that would be crazy, right?
I'll say this: they lost him a few times. So whether it was him or they switched, or I mean, he definitely got some open looks.
My laptop died. I can't see the chat anymore.
Here, I'll share.
And it's one thing to call and ask Coach why he did. Hey, Coach, why didn't you call timeout there?
Yeah, and
maybe he's got a very logical answer for you, but to just call it and say you should have done this because a guy who talked to a kid at Georgetown, knows better.
The audacity. Yeah.
The audacity.
Autry did respond.
Yeah,
eventually.
Yeah, the word. Someone saying everybody has to tell Autry he's got her, Paulie Christ. No, guys. It's just having respect for a coach. Just call in and ask him why he did it, and then you'll know the answer of why he did it. It's one thing to say, "Hey, Coach, why'd you do this?" And you may think he's wrong, but I don't know. I would never speak to anybody in any profession like that.
Yeah.
That I'm not a Division I coach. I'm not a chef. I'm not a radio host. Well, I guess I am a radio host, but like, you know what I mean?
Kinda.
There was only like one thing you couldn't say.
Yeah,
I know, right?
See, I'm not good at it.
You had one job.
It's just you don't know. It's so easy to call after the game and say Syracuse had not called the timeout there and came down the next possession and hit a 3-pointer.
Right.
You could say, "Oh, I'm glad he didn't call a timeout there. What if he called a timeout and it slowed him down?" It's so easy to do.
It's like, why do you foul when you're up by 3? Or, to your point, do you call a timeout and let the defense set, or do you just try to go with an unsettled situation on the final possession? Like, there are, differing opinions. It doesn't mean one is right or wrong. But
yeah, the reason, like, he Tucci may be right in some of the things he said. It's just the audacity is where I come from. It may have worked out looking back if he had done those things. But to make these decisions in a split second as it is happening, the coach doesn't get that opportunity to look at the tape and then go back and change what happened.
Yeah, I mean, if Judah and Brown didn't pick up 2 fouls, they would have been in the game.
Yeah.
But they did. And so the coach has to make a tough decision, right? Do you leave him in and risk the 3rd foul? Do you take him out? He took him out. BC got a little momentum, and the tide turned.
All right, and you ready for the coach's response?
Yes, sure.
You said 14, and then we called a timeout, and then we had a chance. What about that play? We had 2 wide open threes that we missed, right? Now, if you make those, that's a difference, right? And then you go back and you say we got down. But do you know we were down 4 points with a minute left, and we had another wide open 3 and we missed? Overall, coaching is you do what you think is best. You use your timeouts the way you think your team needs them. Not at any time doing whatever run, the first run or the second run, when I had a feel for my team, that I felt like we couldn't overcome that. And I thought we could, and we did for the most part. You don't know when the runs are coming. You try to limit them. You try to use your timeouts as best as possible. We had to burn a couple of timeouts early that I didn't want to, but timeouts are good to have. But I think ultimately it's about what you need to do when you come out of that timeout.
And I happened to be listening on the radio. My son and I were driving back from Albany during the game, and so he had the game on his phone. We switched it over at halftime and listened to halftime, and so I heard the comment that he gave you. It was you, right? That had asked the question, your thoughts on the first half, and I heard the comment that he said, and he was just very calm, and he's like, you know what, we're going to get back in this thing. I'm not worried about their offense. It's the defensive end of the floor. We're going to get back in this thing. We'll be fine. And he was right. They got even with that 21-0 run, they got back to the point where it was a 2-point game, and JJ missed an open 3. Malik missed a couple of free throws. And again, we talked on the show yesterday with Autry about, if one of those goes, if those free throws go down, the 3 goes down, you take the lead. Do you think it would have been a different outcome? I truly believe it would have been a different outcome. I think that was the key point, and that's not coaching. That's just that's a missed shot.
Hey, coach, you should have made those free throws for your players,
right?
And that the 3-pointers that were wide open. It's a game. They lost to BC, and you move on to the next one.
It's a game of runs. It's a game of momentum. And, if they knock one of those shots down, the place erupts because it was mostly SU fans, right? And they exhale a little bit that they took the lead. They get over the hump. I think they probably win the game. They didn't take the lead. BC banged in 2 threes right after that, and, the game got away.
You can legitimately get the answer of, Coach, why did you make, that's what it's for. Coach, why did you make these decisions? Why did you sub this player here? And he'll answer. Coach, why did you not call a timeout here? He'll answer the question. Don't come at people like I don't know. I just would never talk to anybody like that. Like, you made these mistakes and I'm smarter than you, so here you go.
I mean, you should be used to it, though, in this line of work. Like, people tell us how to do our jobs.
I don't know. Last night was egregious to me.
Right.
Adrian Autry has earned this job. Like, he was talking to him like it was his first day at work and had never seen basketball before. It was disgusting.
You know what I will say, though? I left that hello there for a reason. I genuinely don't think Tusi was trying to, be mean. I think he was just very direct, and he's like, I think you made these mistakes. I'm going to ask you about it. But if you're really heated with somebody, you don't start with, hello there. I don't know. I appreciate Tusi utilizing the resources provided to voice his opinion. I appreciate Coach Autry, going through with what he signed up for, taking this job. And I appreciate everybody dealing with us talking about it.
Play better defense, Coach. That's my take.
Yeah, and he knows that.
Who showed him on a box out the other week?
That's the message to the
same guy who brought. The same guy who taught him to box out brought video of the game this time and showed him on his phone.
See, now that's wild.
It's all wild to me.
No. There's a difference between teaching a Division I basketball coach how to box out and telling him he thinks he made a couple of mistakes. Steve, your diction on this word is not that good, and honestly, your posture is terrible.
We've gotten that before with certain reporters that they don't pronounce certain words right, and that happens. It happens. People tell us, people tell you what to do differently. People tell me what to do differently.
I eat it up, though.
Yeah, I know you do.
Delicious. I eat their tears. I wash down their stupidity with my tears.
We're gonna have to get to Terry Foy next and figure out the rest later, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll make up a segment. We went long. It was worth going long.
Shout out
the
to
Audacity.
Shout out Coach Autry.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We will get to lacrosse in the next segment. Terry Foy from Inside Lacrosse joins us next on ESPN Radio.